Hi, I'm Scott Francis, editor of Products Finishing, and I'm here today with Dean Bell of Precision Finishing. Dean's an inductee in our 2020 40 Under 40 program, which recognizes emerging leaders in the finishing industry. Dean, tell me how you got your start with Precision Finishing and tell me about your role today.
Sure. I started with Precision Finishing just over 7 years ago. Started as a machine operator in our job shop. It's a family business, so that's kind of how I got the ask to see if I wanted to come in. And so they threw me right in the shop. I worked in the shop for about 6 to 8 months, and then went from the shop to our lab. Ran a lot of samples, did a lot of sample processing, process development, new product development, and things like that. Then I moved out to Pittsburgh. We have another shop out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Checker Industries, and it was more of a resale warehouse. We did have some job shop customers there, and when I moved out there, that was my main goal was to get that shop up and running. So we turned that into a full job shop, vibratory finishing, glass finishing, and washing shop. And then from there, I lived out there for about 2.5, 3 years, and moved back to Quakertown, and got my start here as operations manager around that time, and that's my current role today. And I currently manage both of our job shops here on an operational level.
You've done a lot of different things kind of along the way while you were there. What would you kind of say were some of the sort of milestones or things that maybe you implemented that sort of stood out to you?
The main one was moving out to Pittsburgh and pretty much starting with a clean slate. I learned a lot of the processes out here at our Quakertown location, but as soon as I moved out there, it was a clean slate, and I just got our job shop up and running. So it was moving it, putting new equipment in, getting job shop customers in, working with our sales force to start new projects, a lot of training and hiring of new employees and that sort of thing. So that was probably milestone number one for me. And then it's just seeing that the fruit of the labor there in that job shop. That job shop's been pretty successful the last few years, and we're continuing to grow that and really push that shop. And then the other one was we had the opportunity to build a brand new facility here in Quakertown. The company's over 65 years old, and it was started out of a chicken coop on an old farm that my grandfather started. So that building had been added on to 10 times probably over the course of those 60 years. So once my cousin and I got on board, Jeffrey Bell, him and I pretty much started around the same time, and our dads are both in the business, and they saw that we were really interested, and they gave us the ability to build a new facility. They knew if we wanted to take this thing to the next level and grow our shop, that we couldn't do it in our current facility. So they gave us the ability to really design and have built a brand new 40,000 square foot facility to house our new job shop. So that was definitely one of the biggest milestones for the company. It was a huge thing for the company, huge undertaking, but just the planning and execution of that entire thing. We process millions of parts a year, and our move took over 5 to 6 months to happen, and we didn't skip a beat that entire time. Some of our customers didn't even know that we had moved because we were able to still fulfill their orders and get parts in and out just as quickly as we ever did. It gives us the confidence that we can pretty much take on anything.
What kind of advice would you have for others who are maybe finding their way in the industry or starting out?
The two major pieces of advice that were given to me when I started, it's not work if you love what you do. And then just in our industry, exactly, it's just attention to detail. I mean, we are the final finish. Everybody has the chance, you got the material vendors, you got the guys that are machining the parts, the guys that are stamping the parts or producing the parts. So we got to make it look good in the end. So we're trying to produce the best possible finish we can, but having that attention to detail and noticing every little thing that comes in. We could be doing that same exact part for 5 years, but noticing when something is off, when it comes to us as a raw part, we got to be able to catch that, because a machine operator or their QC department might not have recognized that. But if we start finishing that part, then it's our problem. We have to figure out what happened before we touched it. So having the attention to detail is key, because we're typically the final finish that somebody's looking at. And then just having a mechanical ability and and really looking at these processes and from a mechanical aspect, and what is affecting the process. Anybody can throw a part into a Vibe machine, anybody can blast a part by hand, but what is actually happening to the surface? What is actually happening to the part? What are we changing? And what types of things in those processes could change the output of the part, or what the final finish is going to look like. The other big thing I would say in this realm to be successful is quality control is huge. The specs and everything that are coming out they just get tighter and tighter. So just being able to understand those specs and be able to produce that over and over and over again. That everybody on the floor needs to understand that the quality of the parts, number one. But then also just speed. We're living in the Amazon world now. Everybody expects everything next day. If you tell a customer that's going to be 4 to 5 days, pretty much you can expect it these days that it's going, nope, we need it in 2 or 3. And just finding out a way and planning around it to see exactly what the customer wants and getting there. The last thing I would say is just thinking outside the box and taking risks. Those are definitely my things that I think that if you can do those things and you do them successfully, you can do well.
You mentioned detail and you mentioned speed and some of those things. That kind of takes me into thinking about sort of trends that you're noticing in this industry. Are there things that you're thinking about kind of you see on the horizon that may help finishers, like with that automation and some stuff like that?
No, for sure. That all kind of helps play a role in the finishing world is, automation, and everybody, it's like it's an information world. So we're trying to garner as much information and much data and crunch it to see, what we can get out of it and, how quickly you can get something done. Automation is, what's the new term, Industry 4.0. So everybody wants it, automated. Everybody wants the information now. They want to know when a machine's going down. They want to know when their parts are going to be done. And then just automation in the equipment itself. I'd say the finishing world is always the last. It's an old industry, but it still lacks when it comes to automation.
I'm super interested in sort of, there's that core business of what this industry is. But I think as things change, it's going to be interesting to see which new things work their way in, or which adjustments will need to be made as materials and things, kind of the mix of materials that are on products changes.
Yeah, it's insane. We come across new alloys on a probably weekly basis here, and it's interesting to look at. And even you got 3D printing. 3D printing's newer. Even the composite world and plastics and things like that is continuously changing. We're starting to see a lot more of that. So yeah, the parts they used to make out of heavy metal and used to be 30 pieces for that one part, or that one piece, or whatever section it was, and now it's one piece and it's made out of some composite material that weighs a pound instead of 20. So it's that kind of stuff that's definitely changing, and you got to be at the forefront of that changing world too. Cool. But that's what keeps it interesting every day. I got parts that came in here today, and I put them on my cousin's desk, and I'm like, what are we gonna do here? He's like, I can't even see the parts; they're so small. But it's a medical part, and it goes into the body, and it's very, very critical, and we got to figure out a way to deburr that part. It's something we got to figure out. So.
Well, Dean, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and congratulations again on being in this year's 40 under 40 class, and wishing you the best on all plans and endeavors. And thanks a lot.